Hi everybody, welcome to Sprague Woodturning. My name's Jim. If you haven't been here before, this is predominantly a turning channel where each and every week I show people how to make things on the lathe. Now this week it's a bit of a mystery. I believe this comes to us from Mark out on the West Coast. And I think maybe it might be hackberry. Hopefully he'll either answer in the comments or send me an email after this is over and let me know for sure. But when it dried, it moved a ton, so we need to kind of cut that off the bottom and flatten things out. And along with that, we've got a lot of flat areas on this piece, and this is covered with some sort of a wax as well. So we got to get rid of that, and I want to give this some shaping so that we don't have any hard lines in the casting when it's done. All right, so let's move over to the bandsaw. We'll flatten this first, and then we'll probably get out the cut-saw sander and grind away all these flat spots, and we'll do some casting. So getting right into this, I'm just going to show this little jig that I made for cutting round stuff. It actually works quite well. Different shims and different locations so that, you know, because typically when I take things out of the casting bucket, there's a taper on them. So that's why those shims are there. But cutting things like this on the bandsaw is quite dangerous. Not so much this function here, but trying to cut round things when they're upright is actually quite dangerous. So if you haven't made yourself some sort of a jig to hold that securely, I would really suggest doing that, or don't do it at all. I could have mounted this between centers and done the same thing as well. And we're going to use the cut-saw grinding disc here to give this, like I said, I want to get rid of all these hard rigid lines because they don't typically look good in a casting. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in to watch this video, and we're also going to burn this piece. Don't do enough of that. It does give a cool effect, so that will be coming up. But one of these grinders, these grinding discs, they're absolutely fantastic. They're not cheap, but man, this thing, I've used it for a couple of years now, and it's still going strong. And it's been grinding epoxy too, which is not an easy thing to do. So you'll see me make my own little areas here with deep fissures, and of course when the epoxy goes in, that's going to give it a really neat look too. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing it. But it is really important to get that anchor seal off. I'm not even sure what he's got on here. It could be anchor seal, but you really need to get rid of that because the epoxy won't stick to it. And then what could possibly happen is big, large chunks of epoxy could come off when you've got this mounted on the lathe and turning it. And you don't want that. So it doesn't look the best right now. We're going to clean this up a bit. So over to the belt sander just to get rid of the rest of that anchor seal or whatever it is that's on there. And then we'll head back to the lathe. I'm always amazed at the transformation of something like this. This is a really nice piece, and sometimes when I'm initially roughing out these pieces and getting them ready for casting, I'm like, this thing's never going to look good. And you know, sometimes it doesn't work out, but for the most part, it seems to. But just using the brass coated brush to get into those deep fissures, and then of course I've got a little flap sander to try and smooth out the rest of these areas. Now it still looks rough in some areas, but that's what the torch is for. It's actually a beautiful piece of wood. There was a lot of really nice figure locked up inside of this. So yeah, here we are outside using a propane torch, and you know, I really want to get down deep inside of these crevices. And the whole idea behind this is to basically give us a black witness line all over the outside of this piece, and of course when it's cut back, it will show you that. So it goes without saying that, you know, this really should be done outside. The last thing you want to do is burn your workshop down. But by burning these areas, it will, where some of the areas are really rough, that will all eventually blend in together with the burning process. So that's one of the things that I really like about it too. You kind of start with a piece of wood that isn't really in the best of shape, and after burning it, you know, it looks more uniform as far as where the cuts were in where any of the sanding has taken place. Leather gloves are a must too to do this. There, I think it's all out. I'll keep a close eye on it to make sure that it doesn't start up again. Now I don't want to put a weight on this, so that's why I'm going to glue this in place. That way it doesn't affect our design. There, while we're waiting for that to harden up, let's mix up some resin. So we don't have a lot of epoxy here, but I think that it was best to use the deep cast. There are some pretty deep cracks and voids in this, so you know, I want to make sure that they're all filled in properly, and deep cast is great at doing that. All right, so the inspiration for this piece comes from a picture that I shared on YouTube here, and this is off the coast of Antigua, I think. And what I want to do is go for this blue color, the ocean blue, and this is the pigment that I'm going to use. I think it's the closest of them all, and yes, this is ocean blue. So that's what we're using for a pigment this week. And I'm not going to put any hypershift in it. I know that usually hypershift is a good thing, but in this case, I really don't want to mess with the color too much. Now this is probably going to take 2 of these. I'm going to make sure I got lots of epoxy on the top of this, because I want there to be some on the top of this when it's done. And I'm going to throw 3 of these in here. And we'll see what we're looking at after that. That's the best look that I can give you. I did take some compressed air and blow off some of the black. I'm going to assume that some of it's going to transfer into this, but this is hopefully a cool experiment, and I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Now I know that may appear that it's lots, but it is not. This wood is going to absorb a fair bit of this. I'm going to give it at least another, I don't know, half of that anyway, 3/4 of a liter. I did debate on trying to have the ocean stop at the surface and then pour in a lighter blue on top of it for a sky. And if I have to do a second pour, then maybe that's exactly what I will do. But anyway, I just want to leave it the way it is right now. Anyway, maybe we can tackle that one in the future. I'm just going to mix up another 3/4 of a liter, and I'll be right back. All right, here's 3/4 of a liter. And what I'm going to do with this tomorrow morning is I'll open the pressure pot and see where the level is sitting. By that time, that should probably be about the finished level. So if I need to add more, I'll make the decision at that time if we want to try and mix a lighter blue. And if so, I will bring it back. But if the level's good, then you know what? I'll see you in 3 days. So into the pressure pot this goes. People may be wondering why I'm not using the vacuum chamber. And the reason for that is because all that black is going to get stirred up, and I don't think it's going to look real good. I'm just going to burn those bubbles off first, and then into the pressure pot it'll go, and we'll see you guys in 3 days, unless there's a pour tomorrow morning. All right, well, good day. I should say it's morning, I guess. I think it's 4 days later, if I'm not mistaken. And I think this is good to go. Anyway, let's get this out of here and see what we're looking at. Certainly not a huge casting. Liking those patterns I'm seeing in there. Those look pretty cool. Cracks are all filled in. Looks pretty nice. All right, let's get some centers and get this on the lathe. It's not too bad. Starting off with the number 3 Hercules from Hunter Tool Systems, link in the description. And I don't know, you might be able to still pick up in my voice that I'm still battling a cold. So sorry about that. I am a lot better than I was last week, but still feeling the effects of this cold, and actually my wife is too. So this thing's just kind of lingering around. But there you can, when you turn the lathe off, you can actually see how that black is going to appear, and really digging it. I really like the look of it. And like I said, we definitely will be doing more of these in the future. Once we get the top part of this epoxy off here that tends to want to wrap around everything, then it'll be a lot easier, and I won't have to use the blowgun as much. But yeah, anyway, basically people want to know about the workshop, what's going on there, and there's nothing to report. Nothing's happened. We're waiting on the floor to be ground. That apparently is happening on Monday. And anyway, thank you for your support for the people who watched the last video. Again, views are way down. I understand that spring is here, so a lot of people are busy outside. So I totally get that. But anyway, if you missed that, I will probably, well, I guess I'll link it at the end of this video. And I'm also going to try and put out another video next week as well. Maybe, possibly on Sunday again. And but anyway, have a watch for that. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to release that as of yet, because I still have to do a bit of work on it. Anyway, I turned myself a resin tenon so that we can reverse this and we can clean off the bottom, because of course I'm going to put a glue block on the bottom like I usually do. And because this piece doesn't have a lot of height, so in order to turn a tenon on this, well, you're going to take a 1/2 inch off of the height of it automatically. So that's one of the benefits of using a waste block. And you know, I know that I've said this a lot, and you know, this is mostly for the new people. And again, sand it with some 60 grit. That'll give that hot melt glue a real good surface to bond to. And let it sit for about 15 minutes, and then you can trim it up. So I'm just using the Ellsworth gouge here to trim away this waste block. Again, you want the waste block to be shorter in height than your jaw set in your chuck. So my jaw set for my one-way stronghold chucks is 1/2 inch deep, so I want it just shy of that, so the top of the jaws are resting on the bottom of the casting, and then of course the rest of it is being held in the chuck. That way that'll help you with vibration. If you say you leave that waste block 3/4 of an inch in height, well then it has no support. So that's why it's important for the top of the jaws to rest on the bottom of your casting, because it will take away a lot of vibration. I've been there, and I've actually, it was a hard lesson because I had a really nice bowl. I remember this happening years ago. I had a really nice bowl on the lathe, and didn't that tenon break in half, and just about ruined the piece I was working on. So this one's a little tough to figure out exactly what I want to do. I think we got some beautiful resin there. I am really liking this kind of black outline around all the wood. So what's the best way to showcase this? I'm leaning towards a hollow form or closed-in bowl. Probably maybe more I don't know. Could be one or the other. I do like the patterns that are on the top of this as well. This will definitely be our bottom for sure. So we'll whittle that away and then we'll figure out exactly what this is going to be. But I'm thinking it's going to be an enclosed bowl. Anyway, I just, it's tough because I want to keep all these details. So, you know, I don't want to cut it in too far at the top or else we're going to lose this stuff. I do want to see some of the black coming through looking down on this. Actually, just let me get some denatured alcohol and wipe it on there and see what it looks like. I think wiping this stuff down is actually a pretty crucial step now because you get a good look at what the epoxy is going to be. Oh yeah, that's nice. Very nice. Yep. That's that little indent there. So that will come through when we whittle that away. Yep. Definitely, you know, and a semi-enclosed bowl or something with a quite a small opening. Either way, I think that it's going to be really nice. We'll delete the pith area here. And if you don't know what I mean by the pith, that's the very center of the tree. We call that the pith. So usually it's not a good idea to have that stuff in your work. But in this case, it doesn't really matter because it's been penetrated by the epoxy. I'm still not sure what this wood is. Haven't got a clue. It is definitely a fruit wood of some sort. It does have kind of apple tones. So yeah, it's definitely a fruit wood of some sort. So anyway, by whittling this away and whittling this away, we'll expose more wood here too, and because this resin pocket's actually quite large. So I think that's probably a good idea to do that. Anyway, let me know what you would have done. That's what I'm doing. So while you watch me whittle this away, I'll briefly talk about last week's video. And that's where I tried to replicate the look of white opal. And, you know, I realize that there's many different colors of opal in the world. The majority of the opal, I believe, is in Australia. So, you know, it was kind of a mixed review. I think that a lot of people thought that it was a good look, and a lot of people were kind of on the fence about it. And, you know, there were some that said, no, I missed it. So it's something that we will revisit in the future, and I will try to replicate different colors of opal, which may be kind of challenging to do, but hey, I'm up for the task. But anyway, thanks for those who watched the video last week, and I do appreciate your support. So, you know, after I started whittling this away, I'm like, well, if I kind of close this in on the top, I'm not so sure what this is going to look like. Still need to relieve some areas there because they're just the resin pocket is way too large, and there's ghosting beneath it, which I have an issue with if you've been around for a while. I do not like ghosting underneath the epoxy. Sometimes it has to stay, like the piece from 2 weeks ago, because if you keep whittling away, well, it's going to get smaller and smaller, and eventually you're not going to have a very big object in the end. So that's why. But for me, if I can get rid of that ghosting on a few little passes, and it's not going to really affect the size of the shape too much, then I'm going to do it every single time. Well, as you can see, we've had a change in plans. I just, in order to keep this detail that I really, really like, this is probably about the best way to do it. Kind of curious to see if we're going to get any black off on the rag from the burning. Very little. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful epoxy. Yep. And the good thing about this is we'll be able to get a core out of this as well that we can use at a later date. So, coring next. Alright, so I don't like doing coring now unless I've got my steady rest in place, especially when I cannot use tailstock support. I will eventually here. And I should mention that I'm using the Core Pro cutter from Hunter Tool Systems. I did actually film some video with my GoPro, but I have a love-hate relationship with my GoPro. It kind of has a mind of its own. And after doing that video, there was no audio. So that's the first time that my GoPro 12 has done that to me. I've got a GoPro 7 too, and it's I swear it's got a mind of its own. It really does. So it can be frustrating to use at sometimes. But anyway, we've got a little tailstock extender in from Johnny Tully. Thanks again for that. And that'll keep that piece from flying across the workshop. So, you know, it's not a huge casting, but with the use of the one-way coring rig and the Core Pro cutter, it actually is very easy to do. And you save pieces from the shavings pile, really. That's what the goal is here. And put money back in your pocket. Highly recommend getting a coring rig. So that is the Cub Straight Tool from Hunter Tool Systems. Again, shown this a few times here on the channel. I really like this tool. You'll see me switch back to the Ellsworth gouge in a little bit, just because the bottom of this is pretty much all wood, so it's a little quicker than using these tools here. But you know, these carbide tools are invaluable when it comes to working with epoxy and wood pieces. Now, like I said earlier, this is a fruit wood of some sort. In my lifetime, I've worked with apple, pear, of course, cherry, not too many other species. And, you know, the apple, particularly most apple, has a really, really nice grain in it. So if you ever get an opportunity to turn some apple, don't turn that down. No pun intended. But it will, the only knock on it is that it does not dry easily and tends to crack when drying. Just checking to see what our thickness is. Yeah, we still got a ways to go here yet. I remember I was roughing out some apple, and I just had the outside profile done, and it was the middle of the summer. It was in my workshop, so you know, it wasn't really hot. And I went in, had lunch like maybe 20 minutes, came back out, and the whole outside of that apple piece had splits in it. So that's how finicky it can be to work with. But it's an absolutely beautiful wood, and never turn it down if you're offered it, that's for sure. So you'll see me switching from, you know, the Ellsworth gouge back to the Cub Straight tool again. Sometimes these flat-ish bottoms can be a challenge to do, and just because of the way they're shaped. So that is a freshly sharpened Ellsworth gouge. Just taking my last few little passes here. And anyway, I do find that sometimes to try and get the bottoms kind of where you want them to be, and if you'll notice, I'm using my right index finger as a gauge, and hopefully by pinning that tool in my hand, when I slide my index finger along the tool rest, then of course it's going to prevent it from digging in, and you'll get a flattish bowl. It's really not to be worried about, because that's all side grain in the bottom of these bowls, and it's actually very easy to sand if it isn't perfect. And since we've had a little bit of movement, I'm going to move to the outside here and just do some shear scraping prior to sanding. You know, again, just that tension being released in that wood while you're working it will cause that to move a little bit. And that is a beautiful piece of wood. Absolutely love it. Finally, on to sanding. These are the 3.5-inch nipple discs from sandpaper.ca. Again, a link in the description. And we're going to sand from 60 to 800. Last week I was able to use the Waterlux sealer on walnut, so this week we'll be using it on this piece as well. Again, no need for an epoxy coat, and the reason for that is because the wood was good and solid, and so there was basically nothing wrong with the epoxy either, so that's why I didn't really see the need for an epoxy coat. Certainly could have been done, but I'm also curious to see how the sealer is going to look like on this wood as well. So still experimenting with it. I enjoy this part of wood turning, figuring out exactly what's going to work and what's not going to work. Okay, no buffing on this piece because I want to use this universal tung oil sealer from Waterlux, and then we'll put on the original stuff tomorrow. Now I try to put the stuff on as even as I can, even though after 10 or 15 minutes I'm going to wipe any of the remainder off, but it's always best to try and put it on evenly when you first put it on. Well, that is a beautiful piece of wood. Let's light a bit here. That is just, it's wild looking, love it. Definitely a fruit wood of some sort. Beautiful epoxy, outlined with our black. Ooh, that looks nice. Yes, sir. And I can see it drying out in little spots here and there. But anyway, I'm gonna let this soak in, and then 10 minutes from now, I'm going to wipe it all clean, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the first coat of Waterlux Original. Let me know what you think about the profile. I really like this kind of OG shape. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Well, good morning. This light up here, that's what we're looking at the next day. Little bit of stuff weeped out here. But yeah, overall, very, very matte finish. So what we're going to do today is buff this, clean it with a denatured alcohol. Never noticed that little ripply green in there yesterday. And after we clean with the denatured alcohol, we'll get our first coat of finish on. First coat of Waterlux Original. So this is a Triple E buffing compound, as in the city of Triple E, from the Beal buffing system. I will say this about the sealer from Waterlux. I understand why they tell you to remove it all, because it is a very, very tough thing to try and buff out. So if you leave lots of it behind, you may have a real hard time buffing it back. And that is the Waterlux Original, and it's the gloss, because, you know, I'm a shiny guy. I like shiny things. You know, tables can be a little more muted, but the thing sitting on that table should be just glowing, and that's always been my philosophy, and shiny cells. Well, there you have it after one coat of the original. Super shiny. Turn that a little bit this way. Yeah, we'll be seeing more of these in the future. The burning I'm referring to. Love to get my hands on a lot of this wood too, because it's absolutely beautiful. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow for the second coat. Even if it doesn't need it, I'll give it one anyway. But man, it looks nice. Anyway, let me know what you think. See you tomorrow. Well, good morning. That's what we're looking at. Pretty shiny, I must say. So it has really covered nicely, but right down in here you can feel some stuff, so it'll definitely benefit from another coat of finish. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick that up or not, but it's kind of a streak like that. Anyway, regardless, we'll buff this and get our second coat of Waterlux on. Same process after the sealer coat, buff again with a Triple E buffing compound, and then of course cleaning it with the denatured alcohol. I didn't mention that in the first time. That's a very crucial step. If you don't do that, then you know you're going to have issues with your finishes adhering to each other. Yeah, I had again, like it's these one thing that I really like about the Waterlux is it's a really hard, durable finish. But of course, you know, when they're when the finish is set on, it can be a bear to cut back sometimes to get it to where you want to be. So yeah, there's the denatured alcohol now for those who are new. And then of course we'll come back again with the Waterlux Original Gloss. All right, well there's the second coat. I did have to do some pretty aggressive buffing down inside of this, so hopefully it's going to look all right after it dries tomorrow. Our little ocean. Yeah, we'll be definitely burning a lot more pieces. Super shiny, just the way I like it. All right, if there's another coat, I'll do that off camera. Yeah, I can see it maybe drying a little bit down in there. Oh well. And then we'll do the foot. See you when we do the foot. Let me know what you think. So after 2 coats of the original, we're going to part this off. I did find some lint in this, so I'm going to have to do another coat on the inside for sure. But anyway, we're using the vacuum chuck here and of course the Ellsworth gouge to get rid of the waste block. All right, well that's going to do it for the video. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched the video, especially the ones that watched it all the way through. I really do appreciate it. And special shout out to the members. Thank you so much for your support. And if you want to be a member of my channel, it's $2.99 a month. Let's have a last little chat about this beautiful little bowl. I love it. Well, let's have a last little look at this and let me know what you think. Now, I'm going to have to do another coat on the inside of this. I'm dealing with lint issues again, so I can see some of it embedded in here. You might even see it at the rotating footage at the end, but of course, that will be corrected. Yeah, this turn and this burn and turn technique is, we're going to see a lot more of that in the future. I did get a ring light. You may see it on here. It does seem to really give better lighting though. So anyway, absolutely beautiful mystery wood. And speaking of the bottom and mystery wood, that's exactly what I put on there. And as per normal, I'm running out of time because it's Thursday and there's no finish on the bottom. The size on this at its widest dimension is 8.5 inches and it's 3.5 inches tall, and it's anywhere from 1/2 inch to 5/8 thickness. Just depends on where it is. You know, I like a beefy bowl, so that's why I like leaving these thick like this. And the other consideration with that is the thinner this epoxy gets, the lighter it will get. So that's another reason to keep your bowls thick if you want the true color that initially you poured. So that is a thing for sure. But love the little OG profile here. And of course, all these little natural edge areas are pretty awesome too. Anyway, let me know what you think about this piece, and it is for sale. If you're interested, send me an email to spraguewoodturning@gmail.com, and I will disclose the price then in case it is a gift. But anyway, I love it. Hopefully you guys do as well. Don't forget to put designer epoxy in the comments down below to be entered into the next giveaway at 145,000 subscribers when we get there. And of course, that's only open to continental USA and Canada. Sorry, the rest of the world, we can't accommodate you. But by commenting down below, you'll be entered into my draw, and I ship worldwide. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you are the winner, I will ship to you at my expense. So comment away, doesn't matter where you are. So yeah, it's really slowed down. Subscriber count is nosedived. So you can tell that spring is here and people got other things on the go, so that's fine. Things will pick up a little bit later on. But anyway, thank you for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. So next week is going to be, we're going to visit Australia again, and we're going to work with some Banksia pods. So I'll leave it at that. And but so far, liking what I'm seeing. It looks pretty cool. So please come back for that next Friday. Next Friday at 9 a.m. I upload every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. So that's when the video goes live. And of course, I try to use the live chat function when I can, if I'm available. And we can watch the video and talk about it as it's being made. So anyway, check that out Friday mornings at 9 a.m. if you're available. Take care, stay safe, don't forget the bell. Please share my videos with your friends. That is the largest way for me to build my presence here on YouTube. And that thumbs up is so important because it really will help YouTube push my content to others. So please give me that thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. Hit that subscribe button too. All right, that's it. I'm out of here. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. See you next week.